I'm Lush Monsoon. Hi, everyone. I'm also known as Ayushman, and I'm a drag performer, and I work also as a human rights lawyer. So the reason that I do drag, and how I started drag was I've always been doing drag. All of us have in some form or the other, I feel. When I was young, I would dress up as goddesses and mythological characters. And also, like I would love to dance to Bollywood numbers, like, every other queer kid, wearing my mother's dupatta or sari or something like that. So I think that was also drag. But when it comes to like proper, whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it proper drag, that started in 2017 onwards. I was hugely inspired by the show RuPaul's Drag Race. And that kind of like gave me the fillip, the push to kind of explore this. Because before that, I did not know about it as much. But after watching it, I felt like, there was always this, femininity which I carry within myself. And I was always scared to like express it because I thought it would lead to bullying and harassment and whatnot. So when I finally watched that show, it just made me feel like, your femininity can be very, very powerful. And like all those things which society can like, bully you for, like, um, they can become like, your armor, and they can become things that you're proud of and you don't need to hide them. So that is the reason why I started. And I felt like, I finally found my tribe when I watched the show, because I felt like I never felt very connected to the queer community before that. Like I never saw myself as one of the muscly gays, or like, like the general representation of what the community was at that point of time. But seeing these people who were so creative, and they were like, they had such moving stories, and they were just so talented, like, that's what drew me to them. And it felt like, okay, this is what I was missing all my life. And then when I finally found my own community, like, my drag sisters, when I first met Beta, for example, it was like, finding that solidarity again, that tribe again. So the reason why I continue to do drag is basically it's my creative outlet. And I also do it because I feel that sense of community when I do it. Like, when I'm backstage, when I'm just getting ready with my drag sisters, I just don't feel lonely in that moment. I feel like I'm part of something bigger or something like that. So that is the reason why I do drag, and that has been like very succinctly put my drag journey. Yeah.
All right, well put. In fact, I really like that. I'm gonna walk here because I'm in a farm and surrounded by the beasts. Um, I really like also that you have a very emotional angle to your art form, right? Like how you started, and all of it comes from a place of emotion leading to self-expression. And I would like to start my introduction that way as well. Some kind of resonance that I feel. Um, just like you had mentioned, Lush, for a very long time there was this otherness, right? This
Right.
weird feeling of not really belonging and not really looking like everyone else, or feeling
Mm-hmm.
inside, not a lot of representation as well in media to sort of feel like, hey, yeah, okay, I'm probably like this or probably like that. So drag for me as well started with RuPaul's Drag Race. In fact, I saw one episode with Willem on it, and Willem is still
Yeah.
my favorite drag queen because of
Yeah.
just, yeah, she's just really out there and very, very outspoken about things, right? Um, to me, it was fantastic to see individuals go beyond gender, to go beyond form, right? To be a certain way out of drag, but then do whatever magic they could do with makeup and structure to look completely different. So that's what pulled me into all of this. And drag for me is transformation. It could just be for a picture, it could be for a show, but in that in that time, there's some magic that happens. You know, it's from the second one puts on a certain, I don't know if it's a padded bra or so one, the second someone puts on cushions, just change one's shape
Yes.
till the last minute where like, yeah, you beat your mug and at the end of it, you look completely different. And for me, I feel in that time, there is a transformation, right? And you're not yourself. One is not oneself. And that allows us to step away from every single thing that we know about ourselves. And that kind of dissociation, I think, is very healthy. I think it's important for people to play with their identity and not be so stuck to it. I think sticking and really holding on to things to a toxic level is, in a way, I feel the plague of our society. So for me, drag is release from identity and sort of fun and play and all of those things. How did I start performing drag? Ask me 1 second, balancing this here. It's very hard to do this on a farm.
But it looks lovely out there, yeah.
Yeah, this is my COVID relief measure, to be honest. Yes. How did I start performing drag? I actually have, I think you know this as well, but for those of you who are watching or for those of you who will be watching later, I spent a few years behind the stage or behind the screen or behind the scenes. And my career into drag was actually started by Maya the drag queen, who I see has joined here. Love you, Maya.
She's here.
I wish I could use my hand. Here you go. Yes, Maya the drag queen. Please follow Maya the drag queen. Maya the drag queen is a veteran drag artist and a very lovely person who saw something in me and sort of invited me into this world of glitz and glam, and that's how it began. Backstage, being Maya the drag queen's makeup artist, being introduced as a new kid on the block, and just being able to see queens do their thing, and it was all too magical for me. I'll get into more of this later, but to be able to see it, and today, to be able to, having imbibed everything that I've seen, I feel now I've slowly started putting my drag identity out there, and I identify as a drag plant. It's just one of those things. And it's like I said, why I do drag is to really step away from the concept of identity and to be able to play with anything, to be able to give myself a little space away from myself so that, one empties the cup so a lot can fill in. Okay, I think our intros have taken way too long, and I really want to jump into some of these fun questions that the team has put forth for us, right?
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you this because I think it's quite pertinent. How is drag different from cross-dressing? What do you feel?
First of all, these terms like cross-dressing and all, I think the lines are so blurred. We always kind of try to, create a barrier. Okay, we are not this, we are not them. We do this sometimes even with trans people. We're completely not this. And the thing is that when we started, when this whole drag and everything, 10 years, 20 years down the line, there were no categories like this. There was no a drag queen. There were people who were trans who were also identifying as drag queens. And they were also cross-dressing, one thing leads to the other thing. So, you really cannot, if you talk about intention also, why you're doing this. So some people can say that drag is something which you're doing because you intend it to be a performative thing for entertainment purposes for the stage, whereas cross-dressing is something which is maybe you're doing it for your own satisfaction, for your own maybe for your kink or something like that. But again, even when you're doing drag, you're doing it for yourself. It's not just a character for people. For me, if I'm just talking about myself, it's not just a character for myself, which is completely fictional. There's nothing related to me in it. It is part of me. It is something which is a hidden side of me, but it is still something which is very true to me. So it's not just a character. I don't do it just for the stage. Personally, when I do drag, it's not just because I'm out there and performing for people. I'm doing it for myself also. I'm doing it to express the side of myself, which is giving me satisfaction. So when we talk about cross-dressing and drag and everything, I feel like there we shouldn't be talking about the distinctions, because I think very often like one thing leads to the other. People start cross-dressing first, then they suddenly feel like, okay, maybe I want to try drag and maybe I want to do it professionally, and so they start calling themselves drag personas. And then maybe some days later they realize that, okay, maybe this is something which is about my gender also. So that gives them further insight about themselves. So all interconnected, I feel. This is my opinion. I don't think that there is like distinctions. Yeah.
I would totally agree. A couple of things that stood out for me from what you said, which I think I'm going to pick to form my answer as well, is performative, yeah, identity, and professional. These are the
Right.
three things that, I feel like for cross dressing, one does start cross dressing, or the whole process is more to do with one's own self and one's own identity and kind of experimenting with that. But I do feel that there is a performative element to drag.
Correct.
It's there is a glitz and a glam, and it's like Trixie Mattel says, you're beating your face for people at the end of the
At the end,
end of
back
the
rows.
room, right? Yeah, in the back rows,
Yes.
people have to be able to see that. Um,
Right.
so there is showmanship when it comes to drag and that whole geesh. I feel, but it's like you said, the lines are very, very blurred, and it's completely okay to kind of jump between the lines as well. So let's smash that question out of the way and get into the next one. I do want to talk about gender neutral drag. This is just a topic that's come up, right? And for someone who is considered non-binary like me, personally, I do not identify with being cisgendered or with being anything. I think my thing is
Right.
that I don't identify, and yeah, I don't want a label. I refuse. So gender neutral drag, in a way, if I had to label what I do, is where I feel I fall anyway, because in my expression of drag, I have seen that I am not a drag king, that's for sure, and I am not a drag queen, that's for sure. And in the mix that I've seen, even Patruni, who is not here with us today, in that mix of expression is where gender neutral drag falls. My question to you, Lush, is that do you think drag is also stuck in binaries?
A large part of it is definitely like, that we still talk about, like the first question which we had asked is like, okay, we've seen drag queens, but then where are drag kings? So the questions are also very, very binary. Like we always try to think, what is the opposite of drag queens? It's drag kings basically. And that's why, like, when you spoke about being a drag plant, I got really excited because and even fits Patruni's drag. It's like, as a non-binary person myself, even though my drag is more often than not, like, it's more on the feminine side. But there have been times when I do, like, play around with gender, like when I did my camp look, it was not very traditionally feminine. And it scares me sometimes to, like, like to blur that line, because you yourself don't know like what that line would look like, but then you have to create that for the world to be, for it to be visible. That's the power of art. Like, you're creating something like that. And I completely agree with you that the larger drag thing is definitely divided, but I think that there are new things coming up. There are new forms of drag which are cropping up. Like when I see Dragula, for example, I see those
Yes.
boundaries even more blurred. And there are many, many drag artists now who, like, even for that matter, Hungry, like, when she does drag, when they do drag, like it's not always like mask or femme. It's something in between. It's just
It's
an
just a drag
experience on their
phenomenon,
own.
right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
is that
totally.
is exactly like how I feel about my gender. Like, I don't feel like I belong to any of these categories. I'm just like a thing on my own, like whatever it is. And that I would love to try that form of drag as well. But right now it's very, very divided. Yeah.
I would agree. I do think, quite honestly, this is rather than saying that it's my personal opinion, I'm just going to go with statistics. There are so many people who do identify as drag queens and do present themselves as drag queens, and there are people who present themselves as drag kings as well.
Right.
But the blurring of the lines, I don't see it as much. So I feel that the binary does exist. And to be very honest, binaries exist so people can sell us more things, right? I just feel if we were people, clothing companies would not be able to have two sections. They would not be, I just feel like things were divided so that the market can be divided, and hence the binary exists. But I feel the binary should not really exist when it comes to art and something like drag, it started because there should be a blurring of the lines, right? Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but you did touch upon a topic, which was when you said drag kings, right? And this is something that is a question for us to discuss as well. The phenomenon or the aspect of drag kings today, and let's be honest, the shortage of drag kings. I feel that there aren't as many drag kings. And for those of you watching out there, drag kings are, well, not essentially, but more or less people who are assigned female at birth, or do identify as female, or do have feminine body parts, who perform as drag kings, or even if they do not identify as female, their drag expression tends to have a certain masculine expression, a masculine direction to it, right? There are a few drag kings that I know of, I think, in the world, but I think for a large part, um, the ratio is really, really tilting more towards drag queens rather than drag kings. What do you feel about this?
Yeah, like totally, like, there is absolutely, like, just the way the gays dominate the LGBTQ spectrum, and other groups like tend to have like maybe like lesser space and lesser voice. So similarly in the drag scene also, there are like lot many drag queens than there are drag kings, or anybody who performs like the masculine, they like to perform masculinity on stage. There are many like men also who do that, like, and they are drag kings, as well as Roxy Andrews, drag son
Mm-hmm.
Axel Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many non-binary people also who perform masculinity on stage. So, but there is definitely like a dearth. Yeah, that's I think all these things which you're talking about, the binary in drag, the lack of drag kings, that's all reflective of what is already existing in the society, like, what is already happening in the community. That's only like getting reflected within the art scene as well, I feel.
Yeah, I think so too. We're stepping into very dangerous waters right now with the topic, and I really, really like it because these are things I feel need to be expressed.
Yeah.
One thing that I have seen is that femininity sells. I
Hmm.
really feel that the female body sells. Anything to do with female really sells, because in today's world, I just feel that if a car has to be sold, there is a woman there. Or if a certain product has to be sold, there is a female model there. Um, and I feel there is a link between this particular consumerist or capitalist, trend, and the fact that there is a possibility that this could be why there is a shortage of drag kings. Because it's like you said. There's already a certain trend that follows in the society, in the community, and that just gets translated into the art form as well, right? So
Right.
I feel that the fascination towards the female form, in a way, there is some link between that and why there are so many drag queens out there, because it's just that fascination that exists in the world, and that probably has led to the shortage of drag kings. But yeah, this is something that I really don't know if it's the answer to it can be discussed by us over here, because I do not know how we would get around to solving that. What do you think could be the solution to increase the number of drag kings that are out there in the world?
So I don't think we can do like anything to change that. We can support drag artists who performing that, like people like Durga and like even like Bidisha, like we can support whoever, like, or like you for that matter, you identify as a drag plant. So like wherever you see alternate forms of drag, maybe try and like, go there instead of like going to the most obvious cliche thing. Try other things, like, for example, just watch the show Dragula, for example. Try it out, see what it does to you. Because when I started watching RuPaul's Drag Race, it was not like I was like hooked on it from the very beginning. It was something that I gave my time and effort to. Okay, let me just watch this, give it a try, and see what it does to me. And that's how I started falling in love with it. So anything for that matter, it's not always going to be like, okay, you're going to fall in love the first time, because of course it's going to make you uncomfortable about things, about your own conditioning, about things that you've always known. It's going to, if it's something which is challenging your own norms and your understanding of gender, right? So you're not going to always go for it and be like, okay, this is amazing. But if you stick to it, if you give it a chance, maybe if you share people's like, art, I think maybe that'll give them a chance to grow and you'll also fall in love with it. That's what I think, because that's what we have to say, because I don't
Yes.
think we can do anything about it. And a lot of also another reason could be that, like a lot of us, like, we have always been very scared of the masculinity part, because it's
Mm-hmm.
always been linked to the toxic masculinity thing. And we've always been scared of like men around our lives, because they are the ones who bullied us the most, etc. And like, they are the ones which seemed more rigid. And we've always had that, like, when it comes to women and like female energy, we've always felt like that is something which could probably, like, has given us some respite from that. So it's like kind of like obvious then that we worship the female form much more than, and we try to run away from the like mask energy, like. But even that is not true, because even in the queer community, that mask for mask thing is still very like active and live.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know the right answer to this.
No, but I think you really touched upon the base of it all. It's like you said, the fascination towards the female form and a certain aversion towards masculinity because
Yeah,
of how it's portrayed today and what it has become in a way as well, the toxicity that is associated with it
right.
and all of that. But yes, it's like you said, just ensuring that there is an open mind around different forms of drag, even within the art form in itself. And again, for those of you who are watching, drag does not just mean a drag queen. There are so many things out there. Um, it's just like we said, a certain expression of it is more popular, and the other expressions are still coming up today, and there's still a lot more to be discovered and explored, in fact, right? And this leads me to a bunch of other questions that I think we could explore as well, since we're talking about other forms of drag. um, let's take a minute to sort of get back into the basics, right? One of the questions I see here are pronouns in drag and why. What do you feel about pronouns in drag, Lush?
I have not been very particular about, like, till some time back, I was not very particular about pronouns in general. Like, I was like, you can
Mm-hmm.
call me he, she, they. Me, it was like never like, there was nothing constant. There were days when if you called me a he, I would feel very uncomfortable and misgendered. And then there were
Mm-hmm.
days when you would refer to me as she, and I would still feel very misgendered. And on some
Mm-hmm.
days, they would also not fit very well with me. So I was always trying, this is in my personal thing, I would always try to figure
Mm-hmm.
out like, what is it? Like, so it was always like, okay, today, right now, I'm okay with this. So I would never feel comfortable to tell people, okay, these are my pronouns and you can use them, because like tomorrow it's going to change for me. That's
Mm-hmm.
how
Yes.
fluid
Yes.
it was for me, right? To feel little offensive when people used to say he, because like I was like, okay, I'm really feeling my female energy right now. This is like my
Mm-hmm.
most powerful female form, which is from within me. So calling that he would feel very uncomfortable. They would be completely fine sometimes. So I'm still trying to figure it out. It's I think it depends from person to person. But for me, when I'm in drag, I definitely prefer she, or they do not prefer he at all. So that's that's
Makes
that's just
sense.
how it
Yeah.
is for me. Yeah.
Makes sense. And pronouns are a very fluid slash tricky topic even today, right? I resonate a lot with you, in fact, in what you said about pronouns, because my preferred pronoun is it. I
Yeah.
just feel that there is so much I feel sexuality and gender, at least for me, is quite fluid. And in a manner of speaking, I feel like gender is performative as well. You know, it's a certain something that we take on to project into the world, right? And it being fluid, holding someone onto he and holding someone onto she, and sometimes even holding someone onto they feels really off. It depends from person to person. And like you said, for those of you again who are watching and those of you who will watch in the future, the best thing to call a drag queen or a drag performer is something of their choice. So it's always respectful to go and ask them what their preferred pronouns are. And if you do see a member of the LGBTQ community or somebody who may not be cisgendered or, you know, may not really maybe fall into the box of the norms, it's always good to ask the person what their preferred pronouns are. And if they don't have any preferred pronouns, like Ayush and I, there is no preference. On any given day, I like it because they feels plural and I'm one person. So yeah, I think that should just do, right?
Yes.
Completely depends, yes, on the person, and it gives everybody a chance to talk to the performer as well, right? It could be a great conversation starter or an icebreaker. If you do not know about the person, and if you're not really talking to them, but you have to write about them, like somebody here has asked, it's always great to start with they. If you feel that the person may not fall into a cisgendered category, seems like they could be from the LGBTQ community, or they could be fluid in their identity, they is an accepted pronoun and they is good to go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that question is out of the way, there is a question here about drag on a female body, and this is something I'd like to just take a minute to talk about. I feel that drag on a female body is still something that's a very new topic. It's a new exploratory field, given that there are the norm right now, or the trend is that there are so many people who are assigned male at birth becoming drag queens, and there's a sort of direction to that gender expression. You know, there is a sort of a flip, one could say, and it feels to me like drag on a female body right now, or at least the way things are, I see the same thing happen, which is being assigned female at birth and sort of having a masculine expression when it comes to drag. But personally speaking, as someone who is assigned female at birth and completely refutes any other labels or any identities, I do not really think there is a difference when it comes to drag on a female body. It completely depends on the expression. For example, if I wanted to be a drag queen, given my female form and the fact that I'm not voluptuous, I would still need to pad myself, right? And I would still need to do the makeup and sort of cut down my features and make it kind of morph myself. And if I were to perform as a drag king, I would have to become more structured, sort of bring more angles to my curves, all of that. And if I choose to do anything that is not stereotypically or very rigidly feminine in expression or rigidly masculine in expression, I can pretty much, do anything else. So I don't think that the body or the canvas really matters when it comes to drag. It's just your equipment and how you work with it, I guess. What do you feel about this, Lash?
I completely agree with you. Like, also because what is a female body? Because, in that sense, because trans women have been doing drag for a very long time. And even though, they may not be like a female born, like a female at birth, but they get their, all the enhancements done, everything, right? And that is the female body, and they've been doing drag. Like Peppermint, for example, she's amazing and she does drag, and she has a female body, right? And then, of course, there are the opposite to it is there are people like Gottmik, who who don't identify as female, like they are trans men, and but
Mm-hmm.
the body they have is not like the body which, like, which is typical, right, in that sense. So in that sense, like, again, it all becomes pointless, because what you said is what is key, that it's like drag is basically creating like a structure. It's the art of transformation, and you can
Mm-hmm.
do that going from whatever, and you can become into whatever you want to be. You want to be a plant, you want to be a tree, you want to be a god, you want to be a goddess, you can be. And it's not important what the form is. That's the
Mm-hmm.
magic of drag. Yeah.
Makes sense. Somebody here, I think, Seema Mustafa, thank you for continuing to send us comments here. I see a good comment here which says, even in drag, there's limited freedom from stereotypes. And just that, my response to that would be that there are stereotypes that exist, and hence they percolate even into drag. Stereotypes can be seen in every single aspect of our existence, and hence they will be seen in every single art form as well. And to be honest, there are certain things that sell, there are certain things that make for great showmanship, and there are certain things that are niche even within an art form, right? So, drag kings and drag queens would be considered the stereotype within drag, but there are also other explorations of drag. Certain artists like Hungary, like you had mentioned, Lush, and hopefully me in the future, because I would really like to see what I can do as a drag plant, and just to do that out there.
I'm so excited to see
Um,
that. Yeah.
yes, totally. I've been meditating under trees just to get the vibe and all of it. That
Yes.
but yeah, I think what you said really holds good when it comes to this topic. It leads
And
me to, yeah,
no,
go ahead.
it's just about the stereotypes part. Like, like
Mm-hmm.
some people consider like the whole, like, breast and like hips and nails a very stereotypical thing for a
Mm-hmm.
drag queen to do. And people say that it perpetuates stereotypes about, like, what women should be like. But I would also say that there is a certain, like, wink wink thing in drag when you're doing it. Like, the whole philosophy, as you said, of drag in the beginning is to say that don't take your identity so seriously. Like, it's not meant to be so stuck, so rigid.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your identity is, it's not just related to your gender, but any identity is not to be taken so seriously. So even when drag queens are doing that, there is a certain, like, like self-awareness about it. Like, we are doing it, but see that this
Mm-hmm.
is not something which is to be taken seriously. As soon as my nails come off, like, that identity also gets out. And we perform
Yes.
gender on a daily basis, like you said.
Yes.
Gender is basically a performance. Like, right now I'm performing a gender, you're performing a gender, whatever that may be. And that's what we're doing. So when we're doing it in drag, there is a certain kind of, like, we're doing it, but we know why we're doing it. We're not doing it because we think that this is how it should be and this is set in stone,
Mm-hmm.
but we are doing it to show you that this is also fragile. And as soon as you remove your makeup, that's how fragile identities are. That just as you can become a different person at the end of the night, so can, identities shift and merge, and they're so fluid, basically.
Yes, excellently put, I must say. And I think this holds good. I agree with you as well. It resonates. That identity is a very, very fluid thing, and I think this is why drag holds its charm for me as well. It's I think has been the sole platform that has accepted everything that I have done in my art journey as well,
Mm-hmm.
and really given space for it, because drag in itself is fluid and meant to sort of bend those rules about identity, and not keep one so rigid to certain belief systems and certain thoughts, right?
Right.
Speaking of bending rules, this leads me to maybe one last question that we can
Mm-hmm.
discuss amongst ourselves, and then maybe open up to any questions that the audience could have. Right?
Yes.
One is drag and its relationship to art or activism or social commentary. Like, what do you think could be the role of drag when it comes to society and activism or art or satire, all of those things?
I think it's drag is essentially all those things that you mentioned, like,
Mm-hmm.
drag has historically been connected to activism. Like, it has, drag queens have been the people who have, and drag performers in general, like, they have been the people who have been at the forefront, trying to bring the community together, like, leading things. Even during the Stonewall, etc., those things were happening. So drag queens were at the forefront at that point of time. I think just the very fact that you dress up in something, we live in a society like right now I'm in Ranchi and I'm discussing drag with you. Maybe at night I'm going to get up into my whole avatar, like, hidden in my room, whatever. That itself is an act of activism. Your personal is political. You're breaking those norms, you're challenging those things, and that itself makes it such a revolutionary thing in that sense. And of course, it's a satire. It's a satire on what people expect from gender, and how people go literally they just take gender so seriously that they are ready to harm somebody's life, to that extent. So drag is all the things that you mentioned. It is activism. Maybe it's not. Sometimes it is done very like in your face. Sometimes there are examples of drag queens who actually become political leaders of the community. But I feel like every person, like when you decide to be a drag plant and when I get to see your picture, that itself is activism. You don't have to even write a sentence describing your post. But I will feel your activism because you went and did something which the society deems so unacceptable in so many ways. So that is like drag is an amalgamation of all these things for me. It doesn't even have to be said. Yeah.
Makes sense. Once again, there's a lot of resonance in what you're saying and what, I wish to say as well. So I'm going to say the things that I wanted to say, which, since you've already said a lot of them, I will just say the stuff that remains, right?
Yes.
So to me, I feel that art, social commentary and activism fall somewhere into the same kind of circle, and depending on its expression, it either becomes art or activism or social commentary, depending on how intense the expression is, right? I just feel that with drag, the person who is donning the drag becomes art. With every other form of art, there is the artist, and then the form of art is somewhere outside of them.
Right.
But yeah, with especially drag, and when it comes to performance art as well, the artist is the art, and that I feel is takes the person or takes the artist a bit deeper inside themselves. There's a lot of introspection that happens when one dawns on a certain art form, right? And when it comes to activism, it's like you said, just being able to live one's life and live freely is an act of activism. I feel in the world today with so many labels, so that people can sell us so many things, honestly. Just being able to be free of that and to be able to break those labels makes drag an act of activism in itself. I saw a question here, a very nice one, when you were saying your points about how is one able to go beyond judgment if one is a drag artist, because doing something like this does call for a lot of attention, and it's not often that one faces, I think now things are a bit better, at least for me, I feel, but I have seen many instances of drag artists being judged and facing a lot of backlash and hate on social media, etc. And the question here is, how does one get on with it or move past it? I just want to give in my 2 cents on it, and I would like for you to talk about it at length. I feel that not caring is key when it comes to any art, anything that one does. Ultimately, the core of it all is that when one is supremely happy with what one does, any art or anything that they're pursuing wholeheartedly, I feel that it becomes good for society at large, because it comes from a happy individual and it comes from a certain wholeheartedness. So ensuring that any art that I put out there or anything that has to do with drag or anything at all, or any self-expression is wholehearted is key. And ensuring that because it comes from me wholeheartedly, it is for me primarily and not for anybody else. It is to make myself happy. And just in doing that, I feel there is a certain positivity attached to it. And by far in the last few years, I've seen that in being able to do drag or art for myself primarily, it's easier for me to deal with any backlash or judgment or hatred that I could get from social media. I'm thankful that I don't get a lot of hatred from social media. But in the few instances that I have, I just feel that the confidence that comes from doing something for oneself kind of helps one reply with a lot of love. I feel that hate comes from severe misunderstanding, and it's easy to explain to someone rather than hate back at them. So that's just how I would deal with it. What do you feel, Lush? Like, how do you handle these frictions that can happen on social media?
I mean, I completely agree with you that, firstly, it has to be something that you're doing for yourself.
Yes.
If that is your aim, then a lot of things falls in place for you. But at the same time, like, what you are saying, like, about if it comes from a place of positivity, or a place from that, like, that I believe in this, or wholeheartedness, that sometimes triggers other people's shame, especially when it comes to the queer
Yes.
community. So like, if you are happy about yourself or about your body, that can lead to somebody else triggered by that and be like, okay, how can this person be happy? Because they themselves are not very happy with their own self, right? So that triggers. And I completely operate on this basis that, I really do not care. It does not bother me when I get hate comments at all. I've got a lot of them, key, like, why, what was the need of studying law and all when you had to do this? And like, is this what you call, like, you're dressing up as a woman? Is this what your mom and dad taught you? And like, all unki sari mehnat, padhai, like, all that is gone to waste. And they amuse me, but they don't affect me. But there gets to a point where, sometimes you can't, it becomes dangerous. Like, there are times when the comments get very incessant. It has happened to my drag sisters when it gets violent. The comments get very abusive and very violent. It does not remain to that level where you can be like, okay, I don't care anymore about this. It is something which does affect you and your mental health, and it deters you from putting out more of yourself. And of course, you will overcome it and be like, nahi, theek hai. Even though like I'm getting this, I will still continue to put myself out there. But it does, there are people for whom, like, they may never want to put out their work again because they are so
Mm.
shamed by it, because they feel so bullied by it. It affects their mental health so much that they're not able to overcome it. So that is also a possibility, and that's been happening of late. They're like, there's sustained campaigns, specific campaigns where, okay, hate is directed towards one particular creator, and then you'll see flood of comments on that page, on that artist's content, and they'll all be similar. They'll all be very abusive, and so
Mm.
yeah, you just have to like fight that storm. It's unfortunate you have to deal with it. It's
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate is that the burden is on you to explain to them why your existence is valid. And you shouldn't have to explain that to anybody. Like, you're not harming anybody. You're just putting out a photo on your own account, right? You're free to choose see that or unsee that, follow or unfollow. But it bothers you so much that you're commenting on it so incessantly. So yeah, I don't know the right answer to this. It's just unfortunate that we have to deal with it. Like, many people have to deal with this. Whether it's like, yeah, that's what I have to say about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's like you said. I don't think it's something that we can, like a presto,
Yes.
it's come up on a solution really quickly. I think it's a human problem. This lack of sensitivity that can exist. Hatred is something that is directed not just at only drag, right? There's so much hatred out there that is directed in so many things, but I would say that if there is something that makes people, it's like you said, if one is putting oneself out there and it kind of pushes some buttons of people's insecurities,
Mm-hmm.
it can come out and be expressed as hatred. And I think this is something that I would like to tell all the artists out there as well, that, hatred that is projected outwards really comes from a place of insecurity. And to remember that when someone is hating on you, to know that it comes because the person is insecure about a certain thing that you have made them think about, it sort of mellows the effect down. The words do hurt, but there's nothing one can do about it. But yeah, I really don't know if this is something we can get a solution on on an Insta Live in 5 minutes or so, I think. But for those of you, again, who are watching, do think about it and let us know, or do send the citizen.in message about hatred towards artists or hatred towards things that are new that push the boundaries of the norm, right? And why does it exist, and what can we as society or humans do to help artists, to help people get over this hatred? Um, I'd like to end this Insta Live, Lush, with one last question, and this question again opening the conversation up to the audience. If you have any questions, do tell us right here, and we'd love to answer it for you. But one last question I did want to touch upon was the future of drag. You know, the future is a very it's a trigger word for me, because I've been severely trying to live in the now and not think of the past or the future and where things are going, given that we live in a pandemic at the moment. But what do you feel is the future of drag, given that we are in the pandemic and everything's become online? Where do you think this is going?
That's a question which keeps many of us awake at nights. What are we doing with our lives? Why are we spending so much, investing all our energies, finances, everything into this art form? But the truth is
Mm-hmm.
that it means a lot to us on a very, very personal level. As you said that, firstly, we do it because it's for us. It makes us happy. And then everything else follows. So even though we are in this, again, second wave of pandemic, like we thought last year that by this time things would go back to normal and things were picking up again, like clubs were opening again, the shows were starting to happen again. And then again, this happened, and you don't even know when it's going to happen next. So, but even from this place, I would say that the future would be amazing because we are also resilient, and it's not something which is to be celebrated, because I think it's something which is thrust upon us. It's not our choice to be
Mm-hmm.
resilient, but we have no other choice. But like the way I see all my fellow drag performers in India, I think it's going to be glorious as like I think, yeah, that's how it's going to be. Like I think there are many new art forms related to drag which are going to pop up, and I already see so many new things happening. So I think it's going to be, yeah, amazing. That's my wish. I'm putting it out in the universe. Yeah, and I'm like to focusing on now as well, as you just said.
More power to your wish and your positivity, Lush. I really like the answer you put forth. And I would have to agree with you, there's a certain point that you said that struck in my head, where you said that this was teaching us resilience. And, given the pandemic, a lot of live stage shows have sort of stopped. And in every piece of society, in every part of society, what I'm seeing is less intermingling and a lot of solo time, a lot of solo introspection. And I feel that in the world that we live in, when it's so easy to put ourselves out there, oftentimes we jump before we're really ready, and the stage always does exist, but um, there is value in being able to introspect into oneself as an artist. So I think this particular time is very important for all of us, all of society. But since we're talking about drag, all the drag artists out there and all artists out there, to really reconsider our own art, our own expression, and really spend time to hone that and really go deep within, so that when the situation does lighten up, we come back as a renovated form, even, or a deeper expression of what we already are. And I think that's the gift of time we've been given so far, right? Being able to not do anything and just sit still with our thoughts, honestly, is a gift. I
Absolutely.
feel, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is just going to help us when we do get out there, because I think when things do get better, there will be a lot of need for connection.
Hmm.
People will want to connect. And all of this introspection that we will be able to do right now is only going to help us connect with people better and, make people happier as artists. And I think since drag is honestly one of the many things that makes me happy. Drag makes me really happy. Being able to see drag artists perform live is just magic. Yeah, so I hope things do change. And it's like you said, so many explorations are happening, and I feel because of this, because we've been able to just be in one place and explore ourselves a bit more, and hence new forms are being able to come up out there. So I think the future is good for anyone who's still got doubts out there. So with that, I think we're also out of time. But Lush, I would really like to thank you for being such a wonderful co-host slash topic discusser slash queen into in this segment, and I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I learned about many things that I think you and I have in common as well in terms of modes of thinking. So I'm very grateful for that, and thanks so much for being part of this.
Thank you. As I said before, I was looking forward to speaking with you because it's been a long time. And when, like, through drag, when you were, like, actually active in the scene, I was not able to connect with you as much. But I always knew that, like, I connected with everything that you were sharing, with your stories. So I knew that on a deeper level, I would love to have a conversation with you. So glad that I got the chance today.
Yes. Also, we'll be DMing you later, so we can actually continue the conversation and not have it be live every time. Yes.
Absolutely.
But would like to take a moment to thank the Citizen as well for giving us this opportunity to present ourselves and be able to demystify the topic of drag. We absolutely missed Patruni today, who is not here with us, but we're hoping they're fine and they're will be able to join us on another segment. I hope you're hearing this, Citizen.in, to have a sequel of The Art of Drag round 2. Yes, and any questions that you guys still have and would like us to address it, please go ahead and DM either the Citizen.in or Lush Monsoon.